Poppy, I'm not leaving you. You said that the last time. I mean it this time. You should have meant it the last time. You chided, gripping tighter onto his sleeve. Izuku was here, tangible before you, and you wouldn't allow him to slip away again. Tender, troubled eyes gazed down at you, and he implored, delicately, "You need to eat." You clung to him, your cheek pressed into his arm. He knelt at the edge of your nest, hadn't moved since he'd held you as you cried, even as the cold from the ground seeped into his knees. He spoke softly, attempting to coax you from the oppressive cocoon of anguish you'd been trapped in. He needed to ensure that you were taken care of, as you hadn't been for weeks. "Poppy, I need to light the fire. We'll freeze." You were silent, your grip unwavering. How could you let go of Izuku when he'd just returned? He'd leave again if you don't hold on. Faced with your obstinance, his heart was crushed in the fist of his guilt. He spent the better part of the past hour crying, and yet tears still sprung up as he stared at the consequences of his mistakes. He placed a hand upon your head, letting his fingers slip through strands. He took slow breaths to control his emotions. He couldn't allow himself to keep crying when so much needed repair. Exhaling carefully, soundlessly, he conceded, "All right, don't let go. We can do this together, okay?" You glance up at him, your eyes wide, childlike and weary, your voice raw from agony. "How?" Izuku smiled, as steadily as he could muster, but he felt his lips quiver. He grabbed your hand, holding tight so you could not doubt his intentions, and gradually pulled only the one off his arm. He then turned around, balancing on his ankles, and brought your arm around his neck. The action clicked to you, and you wrapped your arms over his shoulders, leaning forward so Izuku could stand with you and catch your legs. "Grab a blanket," he instructed gently. "It's quite cold." Your eyes drift to the blanket, and you frown at it. Izuku's body felt near feverish on your skin, when you knew his core temperature had always been cooler than yours. There was not one bit of warmth in you, and definitely none in that blanket. It was as cold as everything else in our place was. "Poppy?" Izuku called quietly. To appease him, you reached for the furs and shroud your shoulders. Izuku forced his lips to a smile again. "Let's go get some firewood." He held onto you firmly, and you rested your head on his shoulder, relishing in the warmth you were siphoning from him. It had been too long since you had such comfort. Together, you marched out of the dome and into the brisk chill of the winter night. "We can just break these branches for now. We'll chop more later," Izuku states, reaching with one hand to break branches off the tree that hung low over our place. You nod into his back, showing you'd acknowledged his words, rather than caring whether a fire be built or not. Izuku snapped the branches and let them fall to the ground, supporting you with one arm and working with his other. When you broaden your sight to look beyond the tunnel vision of your own need, you feel the tremble in his body. You bite your lip, knowing Izuku didn't have the strength to carry you for too long. Your beastly attributes didn't exactly make you light. Clenching your jaw, you shift away from his back. "Poppy, don't do that. You're gonna fall," Izuku said worriedly, grabbing onto you tighter. But you managed to slip away. Your feet touch the icy ground, and you grimace from the discomfort of being away from Izuku's warmth and the concerning stiffness and slight shake of your legs. You hadn't exactly been moving much for the past few weeks. It's a wonder you were alive at all. You didn't drift far from Izuku, only far enough to pick up the fallen branches and return to his side diligently. "You break them, I'll carry them," you order, hefting the few branches into one arm so that your hand was free to grab onto Izuku's sleeve again. Having a solid, physical connection to Izuku calmed your heart. He frowned, his eyes flicking unsurely between the bundle of branches and you. You didn't have to do that. You shrug, stating simply, "We do chores together." "Yes, but this isn't your—" Izuku trailed off, exhaling softly and carrying on. You follow, wondering what he'd been trying to say. There seemed to be this hesitance between them, at least from Izuku's side. His eyes did not seem to be able to stay on you for more than a second or two, before they quickly dashed away. Why was he acting strange? Was he thinking of leaving again? You tighten your grip once more. He couldn't. You wouldn't let him. Izuku glanced at you, heavy melancholy lingering in grassy fields, so out of place in this winter. "I think that's enough wood for now," he said, turning back to the dome and tugging you along. You place the branches in the brazier, carefully, and Izuku finds the flint and sparks the fire to life. Your eyes flick to watch the flame dance along the branches and bloom into a hearth. Gradually, the warmth chased away the chill in our place, giving life back to their home that had become a frozen corpse. "You can go rest if you want," Izuku urged. "I'm just gonna get this pot on." You bite your lip. Realistically, you knew you could not hold onto his arm forever. But you were afraid that by relinquishing the solid contact, Izuku would evaporate. Like before. "I'm right here, puppy. I'm not leaving you," Izuku repeated earnestly. Reluctantly, you release him, sitting gingerly at the edge of your nest, but your eyes were fixated on him as he worked to warm the pot's contents. The scent of stew wafted to your nose, and you tilted your head inquisitively. That was definitely not Izuku's, and yet it smelt familiar. Izuku did not allow the food to cook, ladling out the stew after only a few minutes. He hands you a wooden bowl and looks at you expectantly. "Are you not eating?" you question. "I'd feel better if you eat first," he replies, his unsteady smile returning. You frown. You are still acting strange. Would their friendship continue like this going forward? With Izuku being afraid of you? He sensed your unease and knelt down. "Please, puppy, eat?" You consider and decide you could always broach the subject later. You scoop up some stew and eat. Your eyes widen as soon as the delicious substance touches your tongue. "Mmm," you hum in delight. "This is so good." Izuku's shoulders relax when you begin to eat fervently, his smile softening to a genuine quirk. Your appetite reawakened with the first bite, and you began shoveling the amazing stew into your mouth. A memory gnawed at your mind as the taste grasped firmer onto your tongue. "Easy, puppy. Don't eat so fast. You'll make yourself sick," Izuku chuckled, happily, his worry easing as the bowl emptied. You scrape up the last of the gravy and pause to stare at the empty bowl, straining to yank the memory scratching to the surface from where it lay buried under years of protective coverings. Images of the wolf den and a meticulously crafted fire made themselves known, along with a tiny pot and a young blonde boy barking orders. Izuku took your stare as desire for more food. "Here, give me that," he said, taking the bowl from your hands back to the pot hurriedly. You scrunch your eyebrows in puzzlement. "Katski made this." Izuku glances over as he ladles, humming in thought. I'm not so sure. I don't think he did. He was in a hurry. Auntie Mitsuki must have made it. He must have stole it." Your enjoyment soured. You glare at the pot as though Katski stood there, with his stupid superiority complex. "He told you to leave me. You wouldn't have if he didn't interfere." The inkling of joy in Izuku's eyes was smothered by tints of sadness. "He was just trying to protect you, puppy. and I made that choice to leave. I shouldn't have, but you shouldn't blame Katski. He was just looking out for us, in his own way. You cross your arms and look away with a scowl. You ever think, Izuku, that we give him the benefit of the doubt too much? Izuku comes to sit next to you, pushing the bowl full to the brim back into your hands. You pout down at it, reluctant to eat the delicious food now that you knew Katski had brought it. Izuku's hands lingered on yours. When Katski saw you, like that, Izuku took a stuttering breath and continued like he was forcing himself to speak. You should have seen him. He looked so scared, hysterical. He begged me to come back, kept saying how he was wrong. Izuku slipped his hands firmer into yours, squeezing gently, his eyes misting. I was terrified when I saw you. You glance at him before turning back to your bowl. You try to dig through what had happened, make sense of how you'd allowed yourself to slowly deteriorate without a care. You shake your head, disconcerted. I couldn't help it. I don't even remember how it got so bad. I just knew I didn't want to go. I kept thinking you'd come back. Your eyes flooded with tears, and you choked on your next words. You weren't coming back, Izuku. I didn't know what to do without you. Izuku, you're my only family. Izuku grabbed onto you, jostling the bowl in your hands, but pulling you into his embrace so you could feel his cogent warmth. I'm so sorry, puppy. I will do whatever it takes to make up for this. I won't leave again. You sniff into his shoulder, tears dripping to wet his clothes. You said that the last time, you say, numbly, half meaning as a tease. But Izuku pulls back. He gazes at you intensely, projecting a message filled with resolve and sincerity. I won't leave. You narrow your eyes with confusion, before they widen with realization, understanding dawning on you, like the shock of an ice bath.